myself in the 2 box. And we're back. Welcome into a live edition of the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday afternoon with us. Been a minute since we did a live show, but we want you to get caught up to speed on the latest happenings with your Baltimore Ravens since the NFL draft concluded. We will have a news and rumors update coming up in just a bit. Also, we're going to look at top free agent targets after the draft as well, and we will do a live Q&A mailbag as well. Get your questions in using the hashtag Ravens, or you can super chat to get on our mailbag that we'll be getting to coming up later on. This is our build-up portion of the show where we want you guys to interact, get involved with what we're doing here on the Ravens Rundown. So as you guys file in, shout out your city. Tell us where you are watching from, and we shall shout you out on today's show. So that is how that works. If wherever you may be watching from, let us know, and I would love to hear from you as we have a audience today from all over, and so we want to make sure the flock gets represented wherever you may be watching. Also got a poll question up. Should the Ravens sign Yannick Ngakoue? 35% of you so far say yes. 35% say no. We'll continue to follow that throughout the show today. So get your votes in for that poll question that's in the top of the chat box, and let us know what you think if the Ravens should sign Yannick Ngakoue or not. I see JB checking in from one of my favorite places in America, Daytona Beach, Florida, where I've been many, many times, the site of the Daytona International Speedway. JB, thanks for being here with us, man. Also got Edward checking in from PDX from Portland, Oregon. Edward, thanks for being here with us. I got Yaz in Baltimore. I got Keystone State Predictions saying, yo, what's up? Glad to have you here, Keystone State Predictions. Let us know where you're watching from. We'll shout you guys out here on the show as we get this thing started and going today. Also, what's been your favorite Ravens move so far this offseason? Big Tex is in the house with me. Making his Ravens rundown debut. You'll hear from him from time to time throughout our live show today. Big Tex, there's a lot of different directions you could go with this answer. You could mention OBJ. Maybe you like to say Flowers in the draft. But I think the obvious answer is getting Lamar Jackson, that extension.
Right, definitely. I think, a lot of people, especially Ravens fans, had uncertainty heading into the offseason about Lamar's future in Baltimore. And to, have that squared away now is, I think, really good for them and good for their sanity as sports fans.
Sanity, that's a very good point.
Sanity for sure. And I think it's going to be incredible to see OBJ work with Lamar and Zay Flowers. I think the offense is going to be incredible.
Yeah, and then you add in Nelson Aguilar to the fold as well.
Right.
I like the Trenton Simpson pick in the third round. I think it's been a very good offseason for the Ravens. And what's so interesting, Tex, about it as well is that you look at what the Ravens did, it was all within about a 3-week stretch. The offseason started out very slow. Everybody was on their heels, like, oh, I'm nervous, are they going to get receiver help? Are they going to be able to keep Lamar? Right. And it all came together for this team so quickly.
I agree.
Keystone State Prediction says, I like the Zay Flowers draft pick, and Lamar, obviously. Good answers there. Timothy says, Big Tim at work from Aberdeen. Welcome, Timothy. Thanks for being here. Big Tim. I like that. So we got Big Tex and Big Tim. Tex, can there be two Bigs? Do we have enough room for two guys named Big?
Maybe, just maybe.
As we continue our build-up portion of the show, before we officially get this thing started, we want you guys to interact with us and chime in. This is your chance to get on the show and share your thoughts. Grade the Ravens draft with what they did with their 6 selections. What do you think? Timothy says the Ravens need a corner. They didn't use a high pick on a corner. They did just recently sign Rock Ya-Sin, though, who previously played for the Raiders and the Colts. I loved that signing. He'll be the new number 2 corner for the Ravens. Timothy, Big Tim, is not a big fan of Rock Ya-Sin, saying he's not the answer. We heard John Harbaugh say earlier this week they haven't ruled out the possibility of still bringing back Marcus Peters as well. So, the Ravens didn't remember in the draft. They waited a long time before they drafted a corner, but they ended up with 6 picks. I like what they did with a few of those picks for sure. The grade for the Ravens draft, I see Brody saying B. Edwards says it was tiring with all the drama and no positive reports. Then all of a sudden, it's nothing but flowers. Yeah, imagine. Everything just changed like, boo, just like that as far as how things went for the Ravens. Everything just magically disappeared, and everything was okay. Dana says we still should sign Marcus Peters. Hyman wants to grade the receiving group. Hyman, you want my grade for the receiving group? I would give it a solid B+ or B. Zay Flowers, second best receiver in this draft, arguably. I didn't like him as much as Jackson Smith and Jigba. Obviously, he was gone by the time the Ravens picked at 22. But you're talking about him with Addison and all those guys that were Quentin Johnston. He belonged right there with the best of them. So Jay says a B for the draft. Keystone State Prediction says B-. Brandon Tillman says A+ for the Ravens and their draft there. Free agency. Now, Tex, we're kind of in this second wave of free agency where we're seeing now that the comp stuff is over when it comes to draft picks. Now teams are trying to tighten up their rosters here in this final stretch before we really start gearing up towards training camp and all that. Who's a player the Ravens should still sign? Today we're going to talk about some free agent targets. Who is somebody that you guys think the Ravens should sign? Let us know. Greg or Reggie says, don't forget Rashad Bateman coming back. That'll be big, no doubt about it, to add to that receiving core in addition to OBJ and also adding Zay Flowers and Nelson Aguilar. Dana says, do you think we will trade Queen? What would we get back? It's a great question. I think that there's a decent chance the Ravens do trade Queen. I think that you're hoping for a third or fourth round pick potentially for Patrick Queen. As far as that goes, I think you're looking at Patrick Queen being either you trade him or you give him a new deal one way or the other. I would not want to play him on the 5th-year option this upcoming year. I'd want that either settled. Either get him the new contract or trade him one way or the other, personally. Timothy says B-. Brody says sign Marcus Peters or Justin Houston. That could be a good idea as well. Bring both those guys back to Baltimore. So very good points there from the chat. I got 11 likes so far. I got 38 people watching right now. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I need at least 20 likes before we can officially start this show. Don Rock says sign Leonard Floyd. Hey, I like Leonard Floyd. Use the hashtag Ravens. Brandon, I see you use the hashtag Raven. I need you to use the hashtag Ravens. Okay? If you like today's video, if we get up to 20 likes, which would be around half of our audience, then we can officially get this show started and get this thing on the road. I need 8 more people to like today's show, and then it will officially get going here on the Ravens Rundown. So go ahead and smash that like button, and if you want us to get started, we're almost there. Just need a couple more, and we'll get going here in just a matter of moments here in the Ravens Rundown. And if you want to be a part of our mailbag that we're going to be doing, text, it makes things a whole lot easier if they're using the hashtag Ravens. That way you can sort through the questions. If you don't use the hashtag Ravens, then we can't get you on the show.
That's right. Y'all use hashtag Ravens with a capital R, lowercase r, all caps Ravens. Any of them will work. Just use one of those 3.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to get your questions on the show.
Hashtag Ravens, or you can super chat. And if you super chat us, $sign is at the bottom of the chat box. Then we can get your question immediately to the front of the line, and we'll have a party and celebrate. You send us a super chat of any amount hit that $ in the chat box, then your questions will get answered first. So that's how that works today. We got over 20 likes, so good job, everybody. Go ahead and continue to like and comment, be a part of our show today. And the more interactions we get, the more people can be a part of what we're doing here. We can broaden our reach a bit. So encourage you guys just to have fun today and hang out with us here as we're talking Ravens football. Tyler Jones, Big Tex here, hanging out with the flock here on a Tuesday afternoon. Thanks for spending it with us. We'll go ahead and get started with our news and rumors to get things going. And then after that, we will get to a mailbag segment. Hashtag Ravens or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. So without further ado, Tex, we all good to go? All right, let's go ahead and get started here on this Tuesday afternoon on the Ravens Rundown live edition, beginning with today's news and rumors. Welcome in. It's the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will catch you up to speed on the latest Baltimore Ravens news and rumors as the Ravens could be in the market for Yannick Ngakoue. Also, could they make a trade for Austin Ekeler? Plus, we have a roster update for you that we'll get to at the end of the show as well about another potential move. We'll cover all of that and more in a matter of moments. Before we do, folks, we are trying to get to 9,500 subscribers here on the channel, just a little less than 40 away from doing so, 39 to be exact. If you want to be a part of this channel, be a part of our live shows, our daily news and rumors segments, our mailbags, then you need to subscribe for free today. Does not cost you a thing. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. If the Ravens make a move, then we're going to stop whatever we're doing, and we're going to bring you a video as quickly as we can here. We just love talking to the flock about Ravens football. Subscribe now for free today, youtube.com/RavensTV, and you'll be glad you did. We begin today talking about edge rusher Yannick Ngakoue. Could he make a return to the Baltimore Ravens? Well, according to Bleacher Report, they have named Baltimore as a top landing spot for Ngakoue. Could we see a reunion of sorts? Well, let's show you what Bleacher Report had to say. Interestingly, a slew of well-accomplished veteran edges remained on the market in the lead-up to the draft. At a certain point, it became somewhat obvious the gang would have to wait for the draft chips to fall before the natural potential landing spots emerge. So that's how Ngakoue landed in this position. You look at the last 4 seasons for Yannick Ngakoue. He's coming off what was a very solid year last year with 9.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 8 tackles for loss. The year prior in Las Vegas, he had 10 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. You go back to 2020, the year that he split time between the Vikings and the Ravens. He was good that year as well with 23 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. And in 2019 with the Jags, 41 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. He's been a journeyman of some sorts, but what you can say about Yannick Ngakoue is he has been good everywhere he's been. I think the Ravens right now, if they were to take the football field tomorrow, we would say that they would have a top 5 defense in the National Football League. But if they were to add another explosive edge to a player like Yannick Ngakoue, or another one of a few names we'll show you here in just a second, then you're going from really good to great. You're looking at the Ravens all of a sudden having a lethal defense and puts them in a superior class if you can nail one more and get that dominant edge rusher. And there's a couple other options. Not just Yannick Ngakoue is available at this point. You could go towards Jadeveon Clowney, Leonard Floyd, Melvin Ingram, Frank Clark, or maybe even bring back Justin Houston for that matter. And Justin Houston last year was the champion of Father Time. He did not look his age last year. And so whoever it may be, watch out. The Ravens could be in very good shape if they decide to bring in one of these edge rushers here to add to what's already a very good defense with the Baltimore Ravens. So our pinned comment today, you might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Y for yes, in for no. What do you think? Should the Ravens sign Yannick Ngakoue and bring him back to the Baltimore Ravens? Let me know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Our pinned comment, while the ads play, and get your votes in. Tell me what you think one way or the other if the Ravens should sign Yannick Ngakoue or not. Y for yes, in for no. That's not the only major rumor on today's show. Bleacher Report has named Baltimore also as a top trade destination for Los Angeles Chargers running back Austin Ekeler. And if you recall, with Ekeler, he's in a situation where he wants to get paid. The Chargers are not wanting to pay him that money. He put in a trade request hoping to go somewhere where he can find the money he's looking for, right? Well, here's what Bleacher Report had to say about Ekeler. The Los Angeles Chargers did not draft a running back, which could indicate that they're standing pat with Austin Ekeler despite his frustration with his contract. That said, several teams could be interested in a proven, versatile back that didn't enter the running back route in the draft, which could crystallize the market for the soon-to-be 28-year-old Ekeler. Now, you look at the running back room with the Baltimore Ravens right now with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and company. And, this is a good running back room, right? It's kind of similar to what we talked about with the defense, right? That the Ravens have a really good defense, but they're a player or two away from being an elite, a great defense. The running back room in Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins had a strong finish to 2022. Gus Edwards isn't bad at all. You got a pretty decent room. Add Austin Ekeler, now things get very, very interesting. Running back isn't the highest priority, I think, for the Ravens of their needs, of things that need to be addressed. But Ekeler would certainly make things exciting and would take this offense up another notch, especially with how effective Austin Ekeler is in the receiving game. You look at the numbers of what he did in 2022. 204 carries, 915 rushing yards, and 13 rushing touchdowns. But look what he did in the passing game with 107 receptions. You read that right. Not a typo on the screen. 722 rushing yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. Austin Ekeler is that dude. And we know that the Ravens want to throw the ball a little bit more, that Todd Monken wants to keep the ball moving through the air and how much they've invested in the receiver group. What about a nice safety net in Austin Ekeler? But you do have to pay him, though. What do you think? Here's your chance to weigh in. Should the Ravens trade for Austin Ekeler or not? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Let us know what you think in the comments section. T for trade, P for pass, if the Ravens should make a move for Ekeler or not. Ravens jerseys are available on sale now while supplies last, as we have Zay Flowers' jersey available. Also, some of your favorites like Marcus Williams and Lamar Jackson. We even have Mark Andrews. We throw it back to Ray Lewis, among others. All these jerseys in different colors, as you can see in the purple, the gold, the black, different sizes. We have everybody covered. For every single member of the Ravens flock, you can get your jerseys now while supplies last. Rock out with your flock out and represent your favorite team. Be looking styling and profiling at the same time, too. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey to get yours today. If you want to represent some of the older guys or some of the newer guys, we got you covered either way. Chatsports.com/Ravens jersey to get yours today. That's chatsports.com/Ravens jersey. And one final note before we wrap up here. The Athletic is reporting that the Ravens had a visit with offensive lineman Sam Mustipher to potentially be the new backup center for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, obviously things are good with Tyler Linderbaum. He is going to be your starting center for many, many years to come, and he was a very good first-round draft pick last year. But you still need a guy to go with the second and third teamers to get their reps in for obvious reasons, right? This could be your possible option. Here's more from the Athletics report. The Ravens continue to look at veteran free agents to fill roster holes. They had former Bears interior offensive lineman Sam Mustipher in for a visit. Mustipher is an Owings Mills native. Ravens looking at backup center options after losing Tristan Colon to the Jets. So there's a possibility for the Ravens to potentially fill that need at the backup center. We'll see if they do so. If they do make a signing here, if they add to that interior of the offensive line, you'll be the first to know about it. We'll break it down here on the program. Before we go, name a player the Ravens should sign. We've talked about a couple different possibilities today, whether it's filling a need at backup center or trying to find a star edge rusher. Who do you think should be a Baltimore Raven in 2023? Here's your chance to weigh in and tell me in the comments section. Give me a name that you'd like to see the Ravens sign this offseason and let me know. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. That's where you can find me there when I'm not in this program talking about your Baltimore Ravens on social media. And I'll see you next time here on The Rundown. All right, one segment down, 2 to go. Should the Ravens trade for Austin Ekeler? That's the question that we just asked you all, and I'm very curious what the chat has to say as I'm going through the comments right now. Baltimore World, thanks for subscribing to the channel, my man. Appreciate it. Brandon Tillman using the hashtag Ravens, getting his questions in for the mailbag. Good work. Use that hashtag Ravens or a super chat to get on the mailbag when we have that coming up later. Edward says, I know Ekeler didn't really help me on my fantasy team, and I don't think we really need the help. Let's see. Rob says Ravens should sign wide receivers Mike Evans and DeAndre Hopkins. Well, one problem, neither one is a free agent. You'd have to trade for either one of those guys. Let's see. Baltimore Get Up says, I would like that running back room, but if we're going to trade rather than trade for a top corner, that's understandable as well. Keystone State Predictions, DK Metcalf, but it won't happen. Yeah, DK's not on the market. He got paid by the Seahawks last offseason. Brody says, depending on what we trade. That's very fair. Let's see. So Baltimore Get Up says a top corner. And let's see. Rob says he would pass on going after Austin Ekeler there. Tex, what do you think? You think the Ravens should inquire about Austin Ekeler? I don't think his price tag is going to be cheap because, remember, you're not only giving up assets, but you got to pay him too.
Yeah, I think that it's worthwhile exploring a trade for Austin Ekeler, but I also think that, like you said, his price tag's pretty high. Maybe not something that Baltimore can afford in the offseason. So definitely something to consider. I think he'd be really good in Baltimore's offense with Todd Monken as the new OC out of Georgia, but I just don't see them doing it. I think it's a little too expensive for their taste.
It might be. Let's see. Yeah, Alex Jones, come on, man. I'm going to have to put you in timeout. Like, behave, man. We're trying to have a good time. Adam, good work. Adam, Dana, others using hashtag Ravens. Get your questions in. We'll get that mailbag coming up momentarily. Hashtag Ravens or Super Chat. If anything, this is a plea for Big Tex to make his job a lot easier. Use that hashtag Ravens and a Super Chat. If you Super Chat, you get to the front of the line for our mailbag that we'll bring you here in just a moment. So, mailbag coming up next. Also, too, Tex, I would tell the folks out there that if they think of a question while we're going through the mailbag, we can still get to those too. So maybe you have a follow-up question for something we talked about or something you didn't think of. You can still get your questions in that way as well. So we'll answer your questions one way or the other as we get to our mailbag coming up in just a matter of moments. Caleb says, I'd love to see Yannick come back. Honestly, we need more veterans to teach the younger guys. So far, of our votes on should the Ravens sign Yannick Ngakoue, 65% of you say yes, 35% say no. So, Tex, we all ready to go? Mailbag time? All right, let's get after it. We'll answer your questions. Hashtag Ravens or Super Chat, and we will answer them coming up on our mailbag. And we also will talk about potential free agent targets for the Ravens. We'll get to that after our mailbag segment. Mailbag time here on Ravens Rundown. Let's go ahead and get started. It's mailbag time here on the Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. You have questions. You're in luck because I have answers. And you may be wondering, how do I get to be a part of these mailbag shows? Well, we do them when we go live on the channel. So if you subscribe, which doesn't cost you a thing, then you can join us for our live shows, be notified when we go live, and then get your questions in and answer them in real time, whether it's using the hashtag Ravens or super chatting. We got you covered either way. Subscribe for free. Be a part of our mailbags. Let's get started with our first question. Dana writes in, hashtag Ravens. I feel like the new OC will be a head coach in 2 years. Remember, I said it, LOL. Dana Kennedy, thanks for the question. Todd Monken actually has been a head coach previously. He was at Southern Miss. And so we'll see if Todd gets the chance to be an NFL head coach. But I got to tell you, I have been a big fan of Todd Monken for a very long time. I remember back in the day when he was the offensive coordinator for the Oklahoma State Cowboys working under Mike Gundy. And, I mean, the thing that he did, remember Oklahoma State, if you're a college football fan and if you follow the Big 12 Conference, then you're very well aware that Oklahoma State historically has been one of the better offensive programs in college football. And Todd went in there and he elevated that already good offense. They were doing stuff that we'd never seen Oklahoma State do before. They were running the diamond formation and doing all sorts of stuff. And then he goes on and most recently was at the University of Georgia. And, I mean, he turned Stetson Bennett, of all people, into a fourth-round pick. I mean, that's God's work right there. I mean, just incredible what he did to turn Stetson Bennett into that level and winning 2 national titles. Todd Monken is awesome. And he was the guy I told you about for a very long time that I said I wanted to see the Ravens hire as their next OC. And I think he's going to do some things we've never seen before with this Ravens offense. If he leaves in 2 years to be a head coach, that's a good problem to have. I'll take that over what the Ravens had the last several years with Greg Roman. Thank you, Dana. Brandon Tillman writes in, would you trade Patrick Queen to the Chargers for Joey Bosa? Hell yeah, I would. Chargers aren't making that trade, though. They love Joey Bosa. I mean, is he his brother Nick? No, but Joey's fantastic. Chargers aren't making that move. It sounds like a pipe dream. Maybe Madden will accept it, but that's not happening. Joey Bosa, that'd be fun to have with the Ravens, but that move ain't happened. But Brandon, nice idea and thought. Flock Fandom says, hashtag Ravens, is there any chance we could trade for DeAndre Hopkins? So this situation's pretty fascinating with DeAndre Hopkins, isn't it? Here's a guy, DeAndre Hopkins, who for months we all assumed was on the trading block that would be done in Arizona with the situation that was unfolding of Kyler Murray being out for most of this upcoming season, a new regime coming in with their general manager and head coach, and that did DeAndre Hopkins, who's at the back end of his prime now, that's not an insult, that's just a fact. He's still a very good football player, but it's on the back end. Would he really want to be a part of a rebuild there in Arizona? And all of us said, nah, probably not. And then, you know, we hear him say, well, I didn't want to trade. And, I mean, I think that it's a tricky situation because you need to find a team that can afford to pay DeAndre Hopkins what he feels like he's worth. And does he want to leave? Does he want to leave the glorious views of Scottsdale, Arizona? That's where I don't know where he lives in the Phoenix area. Fire him, I'd be living in Scottsdale. I'm a big fan of Scottsdale. But I don't know. So is it worth it to him to go play for a contending team but take a pay cut? So there's a whole lot of factors involved here. I would lean towards no, but I'm not completely shutting the door on that possibility. Should the Ravens trade for DeAndre Hopkins? What do you think? Y for yes, N for no. Should they make a move? Tell me what you think in the comments section. Y for yes, in for no if the Ravens should trade for DeAndre Hopkins or not. Welcome back, Dana. Good to see you again. Dana writes, I don't think we need another running back. We need other things. Dana, you make a very good point. You look at the running back room for the Baltimore Ravens right now. I like J.K. Dobbins. I thought he had a nice bounce-back year last season in 2022 in the back half when he kind of tightened things up and made sure he was good to go, and then he was in good shape. He looked a lot better. Gus Edwards, not a bad number 2 back. Could the running back room improve with like an Austin Ekeler or something like that? Yeah, it could, but I think you have other things to address that would be more important. And Lamar is like another running back in your running back room too. And Lamar's as good and as powerful and elusive as any runner in the National Football League. So, Dana, I see what you mean. It's not a need, but it wouldn't hurt if you have some other potential options to get a little bit better as far as that goes, Dana. Adam78, a very loyal commenter to the Ravens Rundown. Adam78 is. Adam, good to see you again. Hashtag Ravens, since Washington drafted Emmanuel Forbes in the first round, do you believe they are willing to trade Kendall Fuller? If so, trade Patrick Queen for him. I see where you're going with this, Adam, and it makes a lot of sense to an extent, okay? Let me start with the Kendall Fuller idea. Kendall Fuller, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the National Football League. I think he's had a very good career. His first stint in Washington was good, goes to Kansas City, wins a Super Bowl, was a big part of that defense, goes back to Washington. He's been solid throughout his tenure. But here's where I differ with you, Adam. Kendall Fuller is significantly older than Patrick Queen is. I'm not doing that deal straight up. Okay, if the Ravens are going to do that deal, I need something from the commies. I need a little bit more than just a player-for-player deal. If you're going to make this deal happen, I got to get something a little bit more than just that because, I mean, when you factor in these trades, remember, you're not just trading based on the players that they are now, but also their potential. And the potential of Patrick Queen, the ceiling for the next several years, I think is much higher than Kendall Fuller's is. So I need a little bit more than just a player-for-player deal. I'm going to need a little extra as far as that goes. But, Adam, it's an interesting idea for sure. Mr. Lewis writes, should the Ravens trade for Quinnen Williams of the New York Jets? I still remember when he was at Alabama and they were playing Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl. And he called out Kyler Murray and said that Kyler Murray hasn't faced a defense like Alabama in the SEC. And then Nick Saban looked at him, deadpan, and all of a sudden Williams just straight up shut up and didn't have anything more to say. But he's had a pretty decent career. It sounds like the Jets are shopping him around. You look at Baltimore, they have some question marks when it comes to their front seven. Williams might be a decent fit potentially for what the Ravens are looking for. Price tag might be a little bit high, and we've seen that the Jets, aren't necessarily the easiest to make deals with how long that Aaron Rodgers situation took. But I'm not opposed. Certainly can have a conversation about that, Mr. Lewis. Thanks for the question there. Name a player the Ravens should trade for. Is it Williams? Is it Austin Ekeler? Who comes to mind? Is it Kendall Fuller? Let me know in the comments section. What do you think? Who's a player that comes to mind that you'd like to see the Ravens make a move for? Let me know. Random guy on YouTube. You are not a random guy in our eyes here at the Ravens Rundown. Is there a possibility we could get Jair Alexander in a Patrick Queen trade? Possible. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head how the money works comparing the two, but there could be a possibility that we could see something similar in that sense. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what Alexander's money situation is, but I wouldn't completely rule out that possibility. Ravens fan for life writes, could the Ravens still bring back Marcus Peters? Absolutely they could. That is a possibility for sure, Ravens fan for life, that the Ravens could make a move to bring back Marcus Peters. We heard from John Harbaugh earlier in the week when he was asked if the move to sign Rock Ya-Sin closed the door on Marcus Peters, and he said, no, it doesn't close the door, that we're still open to having very talented players in this football team. Marcus Peters, he's older than Rock Ya-Sin. I think Rock Ya-Sin slides in to be your number 2 corner this upcoming season. But Marcus Peters, I think if he's your number 3 or your number 2.5 corner, you're in great shape. Marcus Peters has had his fair share of injuries, so you have to wonder how much his availability will be. But also, think about this. Marcus Peters, if you told him, like, hey, you're going to be like our 2.5, number 3 corner of some sorts, you just tell him to go play ball, go do his thing, go be that guy that's just creating turnovers, that's just a menace out there. Don't worry about playing the bend, don't break thing. Just go out there and ball out. And that could be a very good role for Marcus Peters because although he gives up the big plays from time to time, he is very good at creating turnovers. And if you have Rock Ya-Sin and Marlon take the number 1 and number 2 receivers on a team and go let Marcus Peters just kind of float, and maybe he's like a 3 high safety sort of role of sorts for Marcus Peters, that could be very interesting as far as I'm concerned. Should the Ravens bring back Marcus Peters, bring him in back, re-sign him? Let us know what you think in the comment section. S for sign, P for pass. If you'd like to see Marcus Peters back in Baltimore, let us know. S for sign, P for pass. A lot of fun doing this mailbag, answering your questions. This comes from our live shows that we do from time to time on the channel. If you subscribe now for free today, then you'll know when we go live, and you can be a part of our mailbags. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. If the Ravens make a move, we're going to be on top of it here on the channel. Subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. YouTube.com/RavensTV. Baltimore World with the hashtag Ravens writes, can Gus Edwards get back to Gus the Bus? Baltimore World, that's a fair question, and here's the way I look at this. Gus, I think he kind of took a little bit of a step back coming back from injury. He didn't quite look like the guy we saw prior to the injury. And there's a part of me that's afraid that Gus that we saw pre-injury is done for, that Gus is over. Now, the Gus we see right now, you can work with that. He's not a bad player, but you could argue that his best days of football might be behind him. So we'll see what he does to put the work in and how he comes to camp and everything. But I think it's still a long road ahead for him to try to get back to being the player he once was. Last question from Baltimore Bussin', showing off the guns. Nice gun show there. How will Lamar Jackson do in Todd Monken's new offense? So kind of like what we talked about at the top of the show. Think about this, okay, with Lamar Jackson and this Todd Monken offense. Todd Monken, I think the number one thing that you can say about Todd Monken as an offensive coordinator, whether it was in college football or in the National Football League, is that he has an impressive ability to adapt to his personnel and to get the most out of what he has to offer. And I think that he and Lamar are going to be a nice marriage because of what he can get out of Lamar Jackson. I think that they're going to pass the football more than we've seen in quite some time. You have a good receiving core. Watch out. The thing I want to see from Todd Monken in this new offense, compared to what we saw from Greg Roman the last couple of years, is Todd Monken needs to get Lamar to not run as much. We need to see Lamar, especially as he gets older, become a little bit more of a pocket passer so he's not getting hit quite as much. And that could pay off in the long run. So, yes, I think Lamar will do very well. I think Todd will adapt to Lamar's strengths, but also he needs to protect him as well. We'll see how that goes. Predict the Ravens' record in 2023. Schedule and all that out Thursday. What do you think the Ravens' record will be? Tell us in the comment section and let us know. All right. 2 segments down, 1 to go. We're going to talk free agent targets coming up next. Big Tex is hanging out with me here today. And Texer, today is Europe Day.
Yes.
Europa.
Oof.
What is your favorite place to travel? Tex, I have not been across the pond myself. I've not been to Europe. Have you been to Europe?
I have. Here, let me put me on real quick.
Yeah, put yourself on screen.
I got you.
As we're in between segments here. Big Tex, a man of many travels and adventures,
Yes.
has been to Europe. Tex, what is your favorite place to travel to?
I think it's a close tie between Italy and Ireland. I like Ireland because my family's originally from there, so it's cool to see kind of like, my family's history, kind of seeing like the coat of arms and just exploring Irish culture. But I also think Italy's just iconic. I mean, Rome. I was just eating up the history of Rome, and we got to see Pompeii, which is really, really cool. My sisters were like, God, it's hot, I just want to leave, but I was like all in on it. We had a very informative tour guide in Italy. So for me, I think Italy is probably the best place to travel, in my humble opinion, to Europe. But I also wouldn't rule out like France is really good. I had a good time in Paris. I've been to Europe a couple of times, so you're right. I am a traveler, Tex, indeed.
Big Tex, big traveler.
Big Tex, big travel.
I have not been to Europe. My favorite places to travel domestically in the U.S. I mentioned Scottsdale, Arizona earlier. I love Scottsdale, the Phoenix area. I love going to Nashville. Those are 2 places that come to mind. And I'll go to anywhere in Florida. Florida just, I am of the belief, and I'm not just pandering for the Ravens fans out there. I am of the belief that the East Coast is the best coast, and I love any chance I can get away to Florida. Rob says in Europe, Germany is the best place to travel, but might be a bit biased because my grandparents were from Germany.
I haven't been to Germany. I'll put it on the list.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
I need to make the Europe trip happen.
Oh, 100%. It's a different world.
Okay, Adam checking in. Very random comment here, but we'll see what he's talking about here. AB owes me money to his arena football team. So no, a psycho isn't stepping into our locker room. Who suggested Antonio Brown? Where did that come from?
Random.
Okay. Maybe I missed something in the chat, but I am not recommending that we see the Ravens go Antonio Brown. That is not advised by me. Yeah, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I can tell you that much. Let's see. We'll go ahead and get to our free agent targets segment. That's coming up next. I got a couple names to watch that the Ravens could sign with the draft in the books to kind of shore up this roster and get them in very good shape. We'll go over that in just a matter of moments here. Okay, Adam says a guy in the chat asked. Okay, Adam, thanks for updating me because I did not see that. I'm not giving any validity, any credence whatsoever to the idea of Antonio Brown joining the Baltimore Ravens. I can't believe I've had to address that today, but here we are. Rob says he's been to Greece, France, the UK, and Switzerland. Rob says that his fiance is from Dublin, so that is going to happen hopefully this year. German beer is the best. Munich is where they have Oktoberfest. That's where the NFL had some games this past year. The Seahawks-Bucks game was there in Munich, Germany. We'll see if the Ravens get like an international game or something. That'd be wild. I would love to go to Oktoberfest. So I've been to the American version of Oktoberfest. I did enjoy some good, some brats and German beer. That was a good time. Yes, exactly. Very Americanized. Free agent targets coming up next. Excuse me. Tex, we all ready? We good to go? Okay. I am all set on my end. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome in. Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, I am going to go over some potential free agent targets for your Baltimore Ravens. With the NFL draft in the rearview mirror, who are a couple of additional players that the Ravens could sign to kind of tighten up this roster before we get ready for training camp and all? Look, the Ravens have a little bit of flexibility now after finding themselves in a situation where Lamar's got his contract. Some of that money gets pushed to the future, so a little bit of flexibility. Not a whole lot, but a little bit anyway. We'll explore some possibilities in just a moment. Before we do, if you think the Ravens have had a good offseason, which I got to tell you, I was talking to Big Tex about this, and it was kind of like a nightmare, a scary offseason to get things started initially. And then one by one, here's OBJ, here's Lamar, here's Zay Flowers, here's Rock Ya-Sin. It went from 0 to 100 real quick. So I have very much enjoyed what's unfolded the last couple of weeks. I have liked this offseason for the Ravens. If you feel the same way, like today's video. If you don't feel that way, if you haven't liked what the Ravens have done this offseason, comment and tell me why. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. So I have three potential players at three different positions that I want to discuss today as possible options for the Baltimore Ravens to sign after the draft to fill some potential positions of need to make this roster a little bit better. I think the Ravens already are looking like a playoff team. I think they are among some of the best in the AFC, but there's still a little bit more room for improvement as far as I'm concerned. Let's begin with Yannick Ngakoue. Could we see Yannick Ngakoue make a return to the Baltimore Ravens? The thing with Ngakoue, he has been good everywhere he's been, whether it was the Colts, the Raiders, the Ravens, the Jags most recently. He has looked the part. He has played very well no matter the scheme, the system. He's been impressive. You go back to 2017, he was a Pro Bowler. He led the National Football League in forced fumbles. He was all that in a bag of chips, Yannick Ngakoue was. And the numbers also back it up with Yannick Ngakoue as well. This past season, in 2022, he had 9.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 29 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. 2021, when he was with the Raiders, he had 10 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 28 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. 2020, that year that he was with the Vikings and then the Ravens, well, he was pretty good there as well. 23 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 8 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. And then 2019 with the Jags, 8 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 41 tackles, 13 tackles for loss. So whether it's Ngakoue, maybe it's even bringing Justin Houston back, whatever it may be, there's a good market for edge rushers right now. Yannick Ngakoue could potentially be a good fit. So here's what I want to know. Who's a player the Ravens should sign? Whether it's Yannick Ngakoue or it's somebody else out there. Tell me in the comments section somebody that you would like to see the Ravens sign in free agency. This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Tell me one way or the other a player you would like to see the Ravens sign. For the best Ravens coverage around, we have you covered here on the channels. We're talking about your Baltimore Ravens each and every day. News and rumors. We also have the latest happenings on your favorite team. If they make a move, we stop what we're doing to bring you instant analysis and reaction to whatever goes on with the Baltimore Ravens. We do our live shows from time to time. During the season, we got watch parties. This is the channel for the diehard Baltimore Ravens fans. Subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. YouTube.com/RavensTV to subscribe for free today. You'll be glad you did. All right, so we already talked about one reunion of sorts. How about another possibility? Marcus Peters, could he make his way back to the Baltimore Ravens? Currently, Marcus Peters is sitting on the free agent market, remaining unsigned, and he's been with the Ravens dating back to 2019 after previously playing with the Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs. He's had a very good career, and his time in Baltimore was solid, even with missing 2021 with a torn ACL. he still started 13 games this past season for the Baltimore Ravens and did a pretty decent job. Now, with Marcus Peters, you get the good with the bad, right? He's going to create turnovers, but he's also going to give up some plays as well. We heard John Harbaugh say he's not shutting the door on the possibility of bringing back Marcus Peters, even with signing Rock Ya-Sin. It looks like your outside corners are going to be Marlon Humphrey and Rock Ya-Sin. But what about the idea of letting Marcus Peters go out there and kind of just do his thing? Create those turnovers, just kind of let him fly around, almost like a three-high safety of some sorts. I think that Marcus Peters could be very fascinating to give him a free will and Dylan role of some sorts that could still be a fit. And at this juncture, this late in the ballgame in free agency, might not cost you a whole lot either. The numbers on Marcus Peters. In 2022, this past year in 13 games played, had 1 pick, 47 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups. But you go back to what he did in 2020 and in 2019 as well. 2020 with 52 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 9 pass breakups, and 4 interceptions. Then the year prior with 53 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 14 pass breakups, and 5 interceptions. If Marcus Peters is sitting here and he's not having to be taking on your number 1 and number 2 corners, I would not be shocked if we see Marcus Peters get back to doing something similar to what we saw from Marcus Peters in 2020 and in 2019 prior to the ACL injury. So, your chance to weigh in here on the rundown. Should the Ravens bring back Marcus Peters? Y for yes, in for no. Let us know what you think in the comments section, one way or the other. Y for yes, in for no. All right, so we've talked edge, we've talked corner. Now let's talk safety. Adrian Amos of the Green Bay Packers sitting around in free agency. And this is a guy that maybe wasn't the first name that came to mind of who potentially you were thinking of. But I feel like as you get to know him, the more attractive he might be for the Baltimore Ravens. Previously played for the Bears and the Packers. He's been very reliable, and if you talk about the Baltimore Ravens, that's something they are definitely looking for. With all the injuries the Ravens have suffered the last 2 seasons, which feels like more than any other team in the National Football League, they need somebody that is dependable, that they can rely on, that can be out there. Adrian Amos can be just that. And, I mean, you're looking at a guy that is still playing some very good football. This past season, he was the 2nd leading tackler for the Green Bay Packers. And he's also from the area. He's a native of Townsend, Maryland as well. So it would be bringing a guy home. We saw the Ravens do that last year with Kyle Fuller. And now could we see Adrian do the same here of making a move back to play for the hometown team? It would certainly be a very cool story for sure. The numbers from Amos, we mentioned that he was the 2nd leading tackler for the Packers in 2022 with 102 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 5 pass breakups, and 1 interception. The numbers, are they earth-shattering? No, but they're not bad by any means. 2021 with 93 tackles, 8 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, and in 2020 and 2019, he had 2 interceptions in each of those seasons as well. So with that said, what is the biggest need remaining for the Ravens? Today we talked safety, we talked corner, edge rusher. I know some of you have said the running back position potentially. You got the quarterback taken care of. Maybe the interior of the offensive line. What comes to mind in particular? Let me know in the comments section what the biggest need you believe still exists for the Baltimore Ravens at this point in time. Hit me up on social media, the Twitter as well as the Instagram. Hanging out with Zuck and Elon and all those guys on social media at Tyler Jones Live. That's where you can find me there. And I shall see you next time here on the channel as we cover your Baltimore Ravens. Stay tuned. It is going to be a very fun next few weeks ahead. Just because the draft's over doesn't mean that we don't have Ravens football to talk about. We got plenty of Ravens football to talk about over the next couple weeks. Stay tuned to the channel. We'll have you covered. We'll see you next time. All right. So, there we go. 3 segments in the books. We are just about ready to wrap up. I'm very curious what you guys say is the biggest need remaining. Rob says offensive guard's the biggest need. Go for Dalton Risner of the Broncos. That's a great idea. We've talked about Dalton Risner previously. He could be a good fit for the Ravens there. Ravens fan Lamar 8 says definitely needs an inside linebacker or a running back. Baltimore Get Up says, hey, Coach, you would know best. Am I coach now? I saw somebody calling me TJ, which I've been called my entire life. Edward did. That's fine. I guess I'm coach. I got one channel at Chat Sports that calls me Papa. I guess here on Ravens I'm Coach. Coach Jones. Coach Jones. I'll take Coach Jones. I will gladly be the coach here on this channel. Baltimore Get Up. Hey, Coach, you would know best. Do you think Yannick would look better with McDonald over Wink? Just curious. Yeah, I think he would. I think Baltimore Get Up, you're on to something there. That's a very good idea. Subscribe to the channel. We're about to sign off here, but it's been a lot of fun today. If you haven't subscribed already, let me put the sub link in the chat right now. Baltimore Get Up, I will gladly take the name Coach. Y'all can call me Coach. That's fine. Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play today. Put me in, Coach. Sublink is in the chat. We're going to sign off here. But, folks, stay tuned to the channel. We got more stuff coming throughout the week. We'll have you covered here. Subscribe now for free. And we shall see you next time here on the Ravens Rundown. For Big Tex, I'm Tyler Jones. Have a great night. Thanks for joining us.